So today I wanted to just jump right in because it's a good amount of information in a short period of time, and I wanted to make sure that I conveyed it correctly. So for a while, I had struggled with burnout, with not being able to actually grow my social media the way that I wanted to. And mainly it was because I didn't understand how to use it cohesively. And so today I want to talk about how to change the way that you use social media completely. So one thing that you need to understand is how to actually use the platforms. Like understanding your platforms is probably the most important part of all of this because I think that's where people slip up with growing on social media in general. So let's talk about kind of the popular platforms that everyone should probably be using to some degree, and then how they actually work. So when you get to YouTube, because I'll go from long form content to shorter content to kind of micro content. So first off, I usually start off with a podcast because that's my initial long form content. So podcasts aren't actually part of like that social media tree. Like you can use it and it's you definitely see it on social media, but it isn't where you're interacting with people, the way that you do on social media. But I use it to create my long form content for YouTube. So let's just jump over to there. So you get to YouTube, right? And the reason that you're creating a YouTube channel is to primarily put out long form content over a minute long. But probably you want to keep it somewhere between, in my experience, 10 minutes and up. If it's lower than that, it's not super long content. But that's primarily what your YouTube is created for long form content. This is where you will put a podcast episode that if you could make it on camera where you're, recording yourself, this is where you would want to put that. If you make longer sketch videos, this is where you want to put that. It is used to put long form content somewhere. Then you get over to Facebook. Facebook is used to connect with people, just like most social media is, but they have an emphasis on it because unlike YouTube, where you like follow subscribers and stuff like that, where it's primarily used as a place to create a channel, put out content, and kind of create a TV show style of it, you move over to Facebook where it's more interactive with the people that you're adding as friends. There you can create group pages. There you can create your individual pages. It's really your grandfather social media platform. You have YouTube that creates that long form content that you can even take over to Facebook and apply that there too, because you got long form content with Facebook Watch. You've got Facebook groups where you can build an audience around a particular page that you create. You can add your friends and you can share your individual Facebook page post onto your regular page. Is really a place where the beginning of social media outside of like, MySpace, all of those old places that don't get used as much now. Facebook is kind of that grandfather that has went through the test of time to still be a relevant platform and even make places like Instagram, which is where I will go to next. Instagram is it was initially made for pictures. I don't know how long people have been around on this, but there was a time where you couldn't put videos on Instagram. And here is a place where you put pictures. But now you put your 1 minute videos, you put your pictures on there, you put your carousel posts. You use this place to kind of put your more polished content on and then in your 1 minute form. But they have IGTV too, where you move over there for your long form content, similar to how you do YouTube. Then you have your Twitter. Twitter is made primarily to create a conversation around a particular topic. So, unlike going to your Instagram where you're making a post and people are just commenting, liking, and you're liking and commenting on different posts, here is where you would talk about topics that are trending, and it's really a conversation around a particular topic. A lot of people have called it like the water cooler of social media, where if you've ever been at work and you went to a water cooler and there's multiple people there, you just kind of chop it up about whatever is relevant to your business or to what's going on in the world. That's what Twitter is like. It's like a place to go have a conversation. Then you have Snapchat. Snapchat, and this applies to your Instagram story too. And now it's kind of getting to your fleets on Twitter. But anyway, any place that you have a story like setting where you can create a story is to connect with your audience on a more vulnerable level. Where I know a lot of people just share to their story, which is okay too, but you really want to use those story platforms, Snapchat specifically, which just revolves around that entire feature, as a place where you actually do tell a story. It's getting to a point where a lot of people are just kind of posting there, but the main use of that is to go on there and, for example, good morning, everybody. How you guys doing? What are you doing today? I'm getting started on this project. Come with me on this journey. And so then maybe the next slide is you actually walking there. And maybe the next slide is you actually interacting with people in that space while you're working on a project. Then maybe you might post a little picture of the project, but you want to like switch that up. But that's kind of what it's used for. And I see people use it not that way. And that might be why they don't see the views that they're looking for from the story post. But that's where you do that. Then you kind of switch over to TikTok, where it's fun. You're creating content around sounds, whether that be a comedy sketch where you extracting the sound from there and kind of walking through a piece of content that you made for that audio, or maybe you taking a popular song and doing a dance video to it, or taking a excerpt for another post, maybe a meme or another TikTok, and using that sound in your own way. But it's creating fun, short videos around sounds, whether that's music or another sound. You can get super creative with this too, from birds chirping to a song to just about anything, creating content around sound there. So that's kind of running through on social media, the main platforms. There's a few others out there, but I think YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat are your heavy hitters here. And knowing exactly what they're used for, that YouTube is used for long form content, that Facebook is used to connect with your audience on a bunch of different levels. That Instagram is where your more polished posts go, but you can get vulnerable here and it's shorter form, like 1 minute, but you have your IGTV that's also a part of that, where you can post those long form videos that you have from YouTube. Also, I forgot to mention Reels. That's new as of I think anywhere between 2020 to 2021. Forgive me if I'm wrong. That's similar to TikTok. And then your Twitter, where you're using that to have a conversation. Your TikTok, where you're just having fun. And Snapchat to sell a story. And not sell a story, but tell a story. If you selling on there, though. So let's kind of talk about how to use these effectively. I think one way to look at all of these platforms, and it's the way that I look at it, is using it like a tool belt. You have your YouTube here, you have your Twitter on your other hip, and it's just one. big tool belt of platforms, and you have to use them effectively. So using your social media effectively is the next part of understanding your platforms. For instance, if the if it's the NBA finals and you watch basketball, and maybe you even create content around basketball, this is where you would go on Twitter, because it's probably trending. If it's trending, that's even better. But you would go on Twitter and see and look at the conversations that they're having around the finals, and start uh conversing with other people about it. Like, hey, that jump shot was just that was dope. Or did you see that play? This is super effective because you got a bunch of people talking about the same thing at the same time, and you can hop in out just one, but you can hop in each one of those conversations and leave meaningful comments. And you're not just leaving comments where it's like, oh, great post or nice job. You're going in there and you actually having a conversation around something that you understand. I would even stretch that and go on to trending topics and find other things that I can talk about and do that same tactic. um, when you get on YouTube, you go in there and you posting the long form version of the content and using it as that tool belt. If you have a video that you shot that's over a minute, so you can't post it to Instagram regular. You can post it to IGTV, but you can't post it to Instagram. It's a little longer than the time frame that they give you on Twitter. It's a little longer than what you can do on Snapchat. So you don't post it like that to all of those other platforms. You go to YouTube and you go, oh, here's for my long form. I'll post this there. And I'll get subscribers around, that type of long form content that I post. If you got a great picture that you just took and you think it's a really nice picture, where does this go? It can go to multiple places, but the primary place that you want to put that is Instagram, because it caters to those types of shots. If if you just went and maybe you're about to go to a concert and you want everybody to see your experience as you're going to that concert, this is where you're going to post it to Snapchat, because that's the way that you use that tool. I think that once you start looking at these platforms as tools and not so much platforms, and that these different tools have different functions, then when you get ready to make one piece of content but you want to distribute it differently, I think that you'll be able to apply it to these platforms more effectively. From your really long video that you're posting on YouTube to conversation that you just sparked up in your head about Twitter, you post that to Twitter. I think that using these things as a tool belt more effectively and understanding the platforms helps you to create better content and just interact with users on these platforms a little bit better. And this is where I get to my last point, where I say use this as an extension of yourself. It's kind of just elaborating on using it as a tool belt, but extension of self more so speaks to how you natively use these, like how you, not native, how you instinctually want to communicate. For instance, if you just love to talk, right? You just love to talk and you just want to talk about something, go to Twitter. That's when you pull up your Twitter and you just start having fun conversations about something. This is using it like a tool belt, but let's say you wake up and you are just in a mood to talk about pretty much your day. You can use your story for this. This is when you hop on and you go, hey guys, I just wanted to kind of talk about what's going on in my life, and you use it here. But hopefully this helped you out. Hopefully this, I know it was kind of vague and I'll jump in more, but I wanted to help you out with using your social media differently.